Hello and welcome to the Point of Influence podcast. Today I'm excited to have Cameron Elliott with me, a fitness industry expert that's worked with over 2,000 clients locally. He's hosted luxury retreats in Bali and has even qualified 30 PTs himself so far. I'm going to talk to Cam about his journey and how he's always been open with his struggles in mental health and even steroid abuse. I really want to find out what that looked like for him and how we can move forward from it and maybe raise some awareness. But first and foremost, let's introduce him. Hi, Cam. How are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having us on.
Good. It's good to see you again. We were just having a bit of a joke off camera about how we've had technical issues in the past, but hopefully we can move forward with this and make it quite simple for you. But I wanted to get you in today. You've got so much stories to tell. Like we've had chats in the past and you've been open in the media about a few different things, whether it be your business or whether it be your personal struggles and raising awareness for charities. I suppose, first of all, we should really start with, how did you start in the fitness industry and how did that journey come about?
Yeah. Well, I actually did my PT course off the back of going for the Royal Marines, so I'd actually applied to go to the Royal Marines.
Oh, really?
Got to the last stage, I think it was the fitness test, I was about to go. And my nan then told me that she had a savings account for me on my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And she'd been saving it up since I was born. And there's a bit of cash in it. And I decided to use it to pay for a personal training course. So I went to Liddershaw and qualified as a PT shortly after my 18th birthday.
So yeah, then back then, obviously, there was a lot of trainers, but not really many people starting their own businesses, let's say. You started Physique Transformation, and that was based around quick transformations of younger demographic and bodybuilding. So you were into bodybuilding yourself. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, did a stint of bodybuilding.
It did more than a stint, wasn't it? It was quite a decent amount of time.
Years.
Yeah,
definitely. But looking back, my health was in a worse state back then. Obviously the steroids and being open about that. But went into business at that time as well. So I think I went into business just after I got off stage, and I was training people like I was competing. Yeah. So it was like bodybuilding prep, but I was trying to do that for everyone. Like that was my training style. Yeah. It was like the before and after photo, The
before and after.
I was pushing out the best before and afters locally and was making sure that I was doing it all the time. So it was like really intense training, but for a lot of people not sustainable. It doesn't, like my demographic now and how we do things at TT compared to back then, it's like the younger crowd, I guess, coming in to look great for their holiday. Yeah. And that's what it's about. Where now it's like, sustainable results. Like I want to work with people for years.
You mentioned there when you were bodybuilding, that was a tough time for you. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. Well, obviously going back to the steroids, and those that have kind of followed me and know my journey have probably seen it. And when I came out and talked to the press about it, and I just wanted to create awareness because I knew that it was a problem and there was a stigma around it because people weren't talking about it. Yeah. Whether that be their ego or they're ashamed, whatever it was, they weren't talking about it. No one really knew the issue locally. Yeah. But I was on like quite a good amount of steroids on a weekly basis. Really? And I didn't know at the time until I came away from it what it actually did to my mental and physical health. Really? Because I look back there and it was just like really erratic with my behaviour. Like I'd flip. It was like roid rage, like people call it. But I'd look back now and like the things I did and how I acted to those around me, those I loved, my family and friends. And like I do get embarrassed about it. Obviously I'm open and I've come on a long way from there, but it did really mess up like relationships, and also with myself, like the mental battle, because to get your hormones balanced, it takes a lot of time after that. Yeah. I was in a bad way for a long time. Yeah. Coming clean.
I mean, how long were you on steroids for?
So took a course when I was still at college.
Right.
Like an oral course, like Hannibal back at the time. So I would have been, 16, 17. Right.
And that started, is that when the journey started and you were, how did you even come across, like, excuse my ignorance, I'm not into bodybuilding myself, but how did you even come across that? How did you know what to get or who to get it from?
Influenced by others, like olders in the mainstream gym that I was training at the time.
Yeah.
So influenced by them.
And it was around you all the time.
Yeah, I could see how quickly they were getting results, and I was like, look, what's the secret? Is there anything that you can help us with? And it didn't take long until, I'd bought my first course.
Right.
And then it I guess became an addiction, because I see me gain weight and my shape change like so fast. Like I think in the first month I'd gain like a stone.
Yeah.
And I was just as lean, if not leaner.
In 1 month?
Yeah, like I seen it quick, and you do that initial stage of it. Like, and I was so young as well, so increasing my testosterone levels, and I was training hard at the time, so I seen progress really quick. And there was a photo of I did have a photo back then of like the 1 month transformation of my first course.
Well, I've seen the photos, to be fair. Like, as I said, you've been open with your journey and shared it, and the photos, you did look ridiculous.
And when you get that high, like mental high of like, I'm a beast, I'm a unit, compared to like me being the skinniest kid at school.
As we mentioned,
when I had that feeling, I was addicted to it.
It was so it's more the feeling that you were addicted to rather than the sort of actual drug itself.
I guess like the ego back then of like what people thought of me.
Yeah.
And think like, no, he trains.
Yeah.
Even though I was before that, but it was like when you can see the results, like it's noticeable for people, and I'm like, what's he doing? And until I created that awareness, a lot of people didn't actually have a clue that I was on it as well.
Yeah, no. If you're not into the actual gym and fitness itself, I don't think you'd see the telltales, as they call them, or whatever these things are that can show it. So I must admit, I didn't know yourself. I just thought you were in really good shape because you were a PT, as most average person would think. But what point was it that you decided enough was enough with the steroids? Because it was a few years you were on them, right?
Yeah, I think it was when we came back, when me and the kid's mum, so Bex, who by the way I have an amazing relationship with now, we came back from our holiday from Thailand, our first holiday together, and I was so anxious going on that holiday because I had so steroids in my suitcase, travelling them to Thailand for personal use to stay on it.
Right.
Like the anxiety going through the airports carrying that stuff, they probably would have confiscated it, but when you're in a place like that, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, I wouldn't risk it at all.
How I felt for that holiday, like, I didn't want to feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
So I came back and I was like, look, that's me done. And I was waking up with like heart palpitations as well from the fat burners that were in the cycle, like clenbuterol and stuff, and T3s and all these other things that I was on at the time. Like I was waking up in the middle of the night and like literally felt like I was having a heart attack.
Wow. How long did that last for?
That went on for ages, but when I was so hooked, but it was that holiday that was like, that was it for me. Like I came back from that and I was like, I don't want to feel that anxiety anymore. Like going through the airports, like afraid that I'm going to get pulled aside and I'm going to be on a holiday with my partner enjoying it.
Yeah, also
and I was going to the chemist over there as well to get extra stuff when we were in Thailand.
You were that?
Yeah,
it was that
just
important
hooked.
to you?
Yeah, and you could get it like that over the counter there.
Really?
And you still can. But back then it was just like the ease of access, and I was like, that's enough.
So since then you've obviously come off the gear for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And you were very open to telling your story. But what would you advise anyone that's into steroids at the moment? Because I suppose you would know better than me. How is that seen right now? Is it still a big thing? And if it is, what would you say to anyone that's either thinking about it or potentially trying to come off it?
Yeah, you've really got to weigh up like where you want to go with life. Like I look back at when I was on steroids and I wouldn't have had the clear head that I have now for business. So I wouldn't have gone to the places and probably opened up a gym if I was still on it, really, because back then it was all about me. It was the ego. I couldn't think clearer. I couldn't take an outside perspective on things, and like, I want to take this to their business. See kids now, and I don't think I would have had the kids either, to be completely honest. Like my health and physically I was in such a bad state.
Well, that's one of the side effects as well.
Didn't have the bloods and that done there that I probably should have back then. But I think if you're on it, like get your bloods done to kind of work out where they are.
Where you are in your journey.
because that's so important, because anything could happen like that, you know, you could drop dead. And there is bodybuilders that have passed away even recently.
Really?
And they've been like the biggest ones on the front page of the magazine, and they've passed away with heart attacks and stuff. So there is that risk there, but then, you know, there is a part where it is people's life. Like bodybuilding is somebody's life. Like that's their passion. So, and if they want to be paid for it, then, you know, if they want to be on stage and that be their career, they have to do that to be able to do that, to be able to compete with the best in the world, you know, in these shows that aren't tested.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do that. So it's like weighing it up. It's like knowing what you want in life. And like now I've got 2 amazing kids. I've got a couple of businesses that are doing better every month. Like there's constant growth for that. And if I look back to if I was still on the steroids, would have that have happened? Probably not.
Really?
So that's the advice. It's like personal experience. I'm not going to say, you know, don't do them, because I was in a place where I did them. Like I've been there and I've done it. But I can also share my experience, and like physically as well. I spoke to you about it in the past. I've got to get something done to my left breast because of the steroids not coming off. You were saying
you've still got that lasting damage because of the physique.
Literally, we've got to get a boob job.
Jesus Christ.
They've got to go in it to take out the estrogen build up.
Really?
And that's like surgery, which is going to cost thousands to do.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah. But that, you know, that's happened because of it
part
as
of
well.
the game, right?
And that does, I'm probably haven't been open with this, but that does get me down every day.
Really?
Yeah. Because it hurts as well. If like I knock it, it hurts. I'm in a lot of pain.
Wow. And
I see it in the mirror, and it flames up depending on what I do in it. It flares up, and I see that, and it does really get me down. And I probably haven't been open and honest with that, but it's something that's still with me now. I do want to get that surgery done to get rid of it, but it's still always going to be scarred there. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm still always going to know.
Yeah.
Probably be able to live with it a lot easier once I've had that done. But that was because of that.
It's a big part of it. Obviously, there's a lot of lasting
because of my
effects,
life choices.
Life choices,
Yeah.
but we all make them. But you do mention a very good life choice, a very positive life choice, and certainly from your point of view, and the person you are today. But you mentioned now you are a father. That's a huge part of your life. How's that journey going for you so far? We've got that in common, haven't we? That's how we kind of connect these days.
Yeah, great, mate. I've got 2 amazing kids. Noah's 7, Ari's 5.
Yeah.
Going on to be 15.
Yeah.
She's absolutely mental. They're amazing. So I co-parent. I've got 50-50.
Yeah.
With their mum and their stepdad, which is great. It's tough, don't get me wrong. Like juggling that and business is hard, especially on my long week. Like this week's my 5-night week with the kids.
Yeah.
Half term.
Yeah, we
still got to run the
tying you
gym.
down for anything. It's like, okay, I'll probably have an hour at about 5 o'clock in the morning or at 7 o'clock in the evening. You're pretty much fully booked in between, but you're always keeping yourself busy and keeping yourself active with them. How is it? Trying to juggle all that at once.
Yeah, it's great. They just really make everything worth it.
Yeah,
like, they're my reason. They're my why. Because if I'm having a hard day, I just kind of look at them, even if they're not with me. Just look at a picture of them, got them as my screensaver on my phone, and it's just that reminder of like, keep going.
Yeah.
And I love that. I don't know what it would be without the kids.
Yeah. Exactly. It's something to work towards and work for.
I just work so much harder, and I've also like created that work-life balance now because I have to.
Well, yeah, it's different when you're put in this situation where you have to, as you said. So how do you create work-life balance? I'm asking as a friend and also for advice as well.
Yeah. Like Mondays for me is the only day that every week I won't see the kids like at all, even if it's a long week Mondays. So I try and Monday's usually like a 16-hour working day where I try and get a lot of the week in that Monday. And Tuesday morning I'm working, and then I have the kids every Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday night they're always with their mum, and then I have them every other Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it's hard to get the balance, and they do have, like, not gonna lie, they have to come to the gym sometimes, but it'll be a one-off, you know, it'll be the odd hour here and there. Apart from that, a lot of the work that I do for the business I try and do remotely, so like Facebook ads, sales calls, and they're well-behaved kids. If I'm like, look kids, I've got to do a call now, but I try and make the time that I'm with them all about them, and really limit it. I think it's really hard to cut it out completely, because you still got to grow a business. You still got to make sales every day.
Still got to pay the bills.
Exactly. But they get it. And I've been a lot more selfish recently over the last couple of years, since me and their mum split up, about my time and it being precious. Like when I'm with them, like it's about them. So I really try and limit what I do, like work-wise in that.
Yeah.
Try and get as much done as when they're at school as I can.
Yeah, exactly. No, fair play to you. And obviously I can see it from a personal point of view, but you do also incorporate it a lot into the workspace you do. And we've had chats before even about charity work you do about single fathers. How does that look now?
Yeah, well, when I was struggling, I kind of felt like I got really let down by the public system and like not getting seen by somebody that just basically wanted to give me antidepressants and that'd be it. You know, it was literally like a 5-minute appointment. It was like, look, take these for the next couple of months.
Jesus.
And that was my experience, like firsthand. And that's obviously when I broke up, the kid's mum, and I was just single dad by myself. Didn't have anywhere to live back then as well. So I was in a bad place, like nothing was in order. I had a gym, like that was it. You know, and people looked at it from the outside and was like, you know, he's doing amazing.
I was going to say from the outside, I would have said that I've never really seen any of that from your point of view. You are open about a lot of things, but that was not really part of the journey.
That time I was sofa surfing. I was living at like my mates, the sofa, sometimes in the office as well. Like, I didn't actually have anywhere to take the kids at night and for them to sleep. So it was a tough time. And yeah, like going back, I felt the public system really failed me.
Right.
They didn't give me the support I needed back then. And I've told you, left a voicemail on this local charity that was linked, like the government recommend them and, speak to these. Left a voicemail. And that day was Boxing Day 2019. And I wanted to drive like off a cliff and just end it then. I was in such a bad place. And I couldn't control the emotions and it was getting too much. And I had all these flashbacks of all the things that had went wrong and where I'd messed up. And left them a voicemail and it must have lasted about 10 minutes. It's a bit blurry, like vivid thinking back to it. But I didn't get any call back. Like no one returned my call. And I was at my lowest. And that's why now I want to set up a charity that sought therapy for people, but privately. So for those that can't afford it, like back then I couldn't afford private therapy. I had a few sessions, but they were funded by family members. Like my auntie paid for one. Wow. I think my mum paid for one. I think my uncle and my granddad paid for another one. And that's the only way that I could get private therapy. I couldn't afford it. I was heavily in an overdraft. I didn't have anywhere to live. I'd spent money on a gym, drugs, alcohol, all the stuff leading up to that. But I was in a bad place financially.
Wow.
And mentally, which is all linked. But now I want to set up a charity that funds therapy for people that can't afford it, but private therapy, so not going through the public system.
Yeah.
Having a pool of therapists and psychiatrists, not just in Jersey, maybe London and obviously other cities in the UK, Guernsey, that they could even do a Zoom session to somebody that's at breaking point, at crisis, but can get seen quickly. I think the current wait list to actually be seen is like 16 months locally.
That's ridiculous, really.
To actually be on a proper programme and get the support you need. It's over a year.
I think at the moment therapy and sort of mental health it's good that it's being talked about, but it also means that it's going to be a lot of backlog, a lot of sort of people wanting to see people. And yes, you're right, if you don't have the access to private healthcare and able to see someone straight away, it could be missed and it could be too late.
And that's the goal. I want to give something back. Like, I always give stuff back with the charities that we do for the boxing, and I'm always giving raffle vouchers and stuff like that, but I feel like I will get so much from this, like so much fulfillment. Yeah,
well, I suppose as well, like it's always been kind of the way you do things, right? Because you'll go through something and whether it be good or bad, you'll always try and teach the story and teach the lessons from it, as you did with your steroid abuse and mental health, and now with this, it's another chapter in your story, but at least you're giving back and trying to support the community at the same time, which I think is brilliant. I think it's all credit to you for it.
Yeah, I think you need to learn from every lesson in life, but if you can learn and you can educate at the same time, then you know, that's me giving back. It's like I've learnt that, I've made that mistake, I've fucked up, but now I don't want people going through the same road as I did. And I can't stop everyone, but if I can make people aware of it and help a few people every day with the stuff that I put out, then that for me, like, I've won.
You mentioned there about, you know, putting it out there, and one of the reasons that I know your story, and one of the reasons that a lot of people know your story, is how you communicate it through social media. That's kind of where my field lies, and want to have a little chat with you about it from a business point of view and a personal point of view. But you've always been very open to document your journey, whether it be this, whether it be ITV interviews, or even just your social media day-to-day story. But what's your relationship with social media these days like, and where do you see the benefits for it, but also where do you find the negatives?
Benefits, obviously, business, like bringing in leads every day and customers. The gym wouldn't be where it is now without social media. You know, organically, you can only do so much, especially when you're in an island like Jersey. Like, if you can target the whole island with a Facebook advert, know what you're spending, and, you know, have all the data tracked, then you need to be spending money, and you're going to get a return on investment every time if you do it right. And I've learned that, and we have agencies help us. So it's really important for that stuff. I like to share, like you've said, my personal brand, and my story and my journey on social media, because I want it to be relatable. I want it to align with me and, you know, my values. And obviously the ethos of the gym and stuff as well it's all based around that. That's where it's come from.
And you've got, leading with that, you've got that sort of transparency effect as well, right? Because that, as a backbone to your business accounts and what you're trying to promote, I think helps, you know, because people can navigate their way around social media, and they're not just going to buy a fitness service. They're going to want to find out who's providing the fitness service, and also what they're like as a person and what their values are. And you've always really been great at portraying that through your stories and social posts.
Like, most people don't really give a shit about how much somebody can squat or the fact they can do a muscle up.
So I don't think I've ever heard you talk anything about that.
So you've got trainers that are pushing that stuff out all the time, but it's not relatable. Well, for most people, you know, for the general population, they don't relate to it. Especially if you've got a lady there. Like, we train a lot of, like, older ladies that have never trained before, and they might be anxious and, like, have all these, you know, anxiety and worries before stepping in the gym and taking that first step of their journey. So, like, if I can be relatable and they're like, you know, he's actually genuine, like, I trust this guy, he's sharing stuff with me and he's never met me, then they're going to be more inclined to sign up, right? But I just do that off my own back. But knowing what I do, it works.
So you mentioned about the positives of social media, which is great, but there's also a lot of negatives. How's the negatives of social media affected you in your career in the past?
Yeah, I've definitely found myself at times, like, aimlessly scrolling and probably being on it for hours a day. Like, if people look at their screen time, and a lot of people don't, because, you know, they know that it'll be shocking.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I don't look at it.
But
terrifies me.
Doing it in the past, a lot of that's just been, like, scrolling my feed, and I guess when I've done that, you end up, not even consciously, but you end up comparing yourself to others. Right? It's like, oh, he's doing this, or he looks like that. It's always that comparison, and like, I just really limit the time that I spend on social media now. Like, go on there to do the Facebook advertising, we'll put out, like, organic content, but I'm not scrolling seeing what other people are doing.
Right.
So try and unfollow people.
You're not really consuming it yourself. You're more just using it as a tool, right?
Yeah, and, like, accounts where, like, their values don't align with mine, like, it's okay just to unfollow those people, because if you're looking at it, it's gonna wind you up. Or
I don't understand why people do that. I speak to a lot of people about social media. It's a big part of my life, because it's my job most of the time. But I've also found a lot of people just don't understand. They can unfollow or curate their own feed to what they want. You know, people, as much as they talk about how much they dislike these people, or they don't like the way they're doing things, or it makes them feel a certain way, they still keep consuming it. And I suppose that's all part of social media, but I also think it's important to tell people that you are in control of your your experience with social media, and the way you use it there is very much, you've turned it around now to, okay, it's a tool for my business, and it's really important.
That's all
that.
it is.
But I'm not going to go down a hole. I'm not going to consume stuff that will make me change my mindset. I think it's a really positive way to look at it. I definitely think.
Because if you're consuming that for hours a day, like, it gets to the end of the day and you've really got nothing left for yourself.
I know.
And if you're wanting to grow a business, you know, if you're listening to this and you actually want to grow your own business, and you're spending 3-4 hours a day consuming stuff which has no purpose at all, it's inspiration. It's like, where's that going to take you? It's not going to take you to where you want to be next.
No.
Where you could put those hours into actually growing yourself, like that self-development, reading a book, you know, signing up for a new course and spending 3-4 hours a day doing that, but you're just scrolling your Instagram and your Facebook feed.
Yeah, but it's full circle though, isn't it? Because you and I will both use it to target people, and we have to look at it from both sides of the coin. But yeah, as I said, I think it's important you create your own feed and what will help your mental health moving forward. I think it's hugely important to make sure you're in control of your experience. But I also think it's a great tool at the same time. So we have to see the benefits of it, whether it be for personal gain, growth, or business growth.
It's really important to take like a small break from it as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a position to do that and you haven't got even if you've got a business, you can still delegate a lot of the stuff. Like people making sales calls and managing ads, but like just taking a break away from social media. And then I think you will realise if you know the negatives it has as well.
Yeah.
And that would make you a lot more conscious going forward of the amount of time that you actually spend on it.
What's next for the business, and what's the future look like for TT, and also what's the future look like for you?
Yeah. So we want to have the gym full by the end of this year.
Right.
And we're on target to doing that, to be honest. So that's like, we've got like an operating capacity, because we're not a mainstream gym. We've got a set amount of clients that would be full. And the plan is to do that by the end of the year, and we're on target to it. So that's the goal for TT. When we get to that point, and we'll do that in the meantime, it's just, I want to do something for the members every month now. So add even more community, because we do our socials and stuff, but I want an event in their calendar every month, whether that be a fitness related thing, or we went for a pizza on Friday and we booked a table for 20 at Top Floor Pizza Express, something like that. I really want to build on the community that we've already created, so strengthen that, and I guess that will never end. It's like, what can we do next?
Yeah, just keep building on that.
You have to, like, I'll never get complacent, and there's been stages where I've had my wobbles, but now I feel like I'm in a really good headspace, and I've got a lot of clarity of kind of where I want to take the direction of the gym. Possibly a second location, I don't know. I've talked about having 3 gyms in the past, but
you've also talked about work-life balance at the same time.
Swerved away from that. But yeah, I'm getting better at delegating, and I still need to get better at doing that to be able to scale more.
Yeah.
But possibly like more than one gym, just because there is opportunity for us to be in town and run the same system we do. And then I don't want to take anything that we're doing at Longville at the minute away and them lose that level of service.
Right.
So it's just being, mindful of it.
Yeah.
So it may happen. I'm not going to completely burn that off, but I don't know right now. So I really want to build a community this year, strengthen that even more. It's great. Like I said, it's really unique, the culture, but I always think we can be doing more. Be full by the end of the year in terms of members. We will do that. Like, everyone that's signing up's loving it. They're referring their friends, and yeah, it'll be great if we get to that point.
Yeah,
because obviously being busier, like every session being busier, the atmosphere is so much better,
Yeah. And what about your personal brand yourself? You talk about the charity work that you want to be doing, fatherhood, and what's going on with how you're helping dads out there. What do we see moving forward for that?
Yeah, so the charity work, like, that's big this year as well. Like, I want to get that boxed off and actually have something set up where, we got the account, and I've got like a clear plan, especially for like next year.
Yeah.
So I want to get all that work done and get it to a point where we're starting next year and this is a plan for the charity. Like, this is our target. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to go into corporates and do this. So I guess like the rest of this year is just planning for that, because it's going to take time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to set up a charity.
Yeah.
I don't think people realise until they kind of have that conversation. It's like, yeah, it's actually going to take this long.
Yeah, I think using your personal brand to document that journey as well is probably a good idea. You know, get people behind it before it even begins. Hopefully, this today can reach the right people as well. And you never know, some people might reach out to you to kind of support. It's certainly something that I would want to get behind as well. Yeah. But it's been great speaking to you today, mate. I've loved listening to your journey. I think you've always been really open with the public about your trials and tribulations with steroids and mental health, but I've also seen so much success over the years. And as I said, looking back to the young Cameron I remember first meeting, it's a complete different story now. Yeah, you just seem like you're in a much better place. But it's been great speaking to you today, and I really hope everything works out in the future for you as well, mate.
You're welcome.